Merhaba, tekrar hoş geldiniz. Öncelikle aranızda çeviriye ihtiyacı olan var mı? Çünkü arkadaşınız burada size konsekutif çeviri yapabilir. So welcome again. The conversation will be held in English. I just made a brief introduction in Turkish because we have our dear colleague here who will be translating it into Turkish for the ones who need it. I'd like to welcome two friends from Tbilisi, from Georgia. Eteri Chkadua, who is an artist, whose works are being exhibited here on that wall, namely in black and diver that you can see on the great wall. And we are thankful for her participation in the exhibition. And we are also thankful to Magda, Guruli, a curator, art historian from Georgia, who is an expert on contemporary art from the Caucasus region, who was very kind to support our curatorial research as an advisor and contributed in the exhibition catalog with an essay that I would really recommend you to read. You can see the exhibition catalogs in the foyer area. And we'd like to invite them, we wanted to invite them so that they can have a conversation on the dynamics of the contemporary art practice in the Caucasus. Magda will be more focusing on that, and whereas Eteri Chkadua will be focusing also on her artistic practice. Okay, thank you. I'll leave the floor to you. And following their presentations, if you have questions or contributions or remarks to make, please do not hesitate. Son bir kere daha Türkçe söylemek istiyorum. Özellikle bu söyleşiyi İngilizce düzenliyoruz ama çevirmenimiz burada. Eğer Türkçe çeviri isterseniz size çeviri yapıyor olacak. Aramızda hiç çeviri isteyen olur mu? Yok galiba. O zaman söyleşiye İngilizce devam ediyoruz. Çok teşekkürler. Başlayalım. Okay. Here we go.
It's better, so I can take it off. So I want to thank Istanbul Modern for inviting us and for this very beautiful and very important exhibition. So, in all scientifically studied periods of Georgian culture, two directions can be clearly traced. The first is so-called elite art of the ruling royal dynasties, pagan Greece, and high secular and military classes that later got transformed into the medieval Christian culture. Simultaneously, there was a culture developed among ordinary people, closely connected with everyday life and nature, with various rituals of very mixed cultural origin, with much simplified attitudes and worldview. In the first case, we can talk about the culture which related to the centers of systemized knowledge and education, while in the second case, we talk about some synthesis of rituals, poetry, domestic and handcraft handicraft traditions prevailing among lower classes and originated from the Asian types of shamanism and sympathetic magic. Thus, in ancient and pre-Christian times, as well as early Middle Ages, there is a clear distinction between the progressive development of high professional, military and secular art and the manifestation of regional art and folklore, which in different periods of development reflected the themes of so-called high art. The trend of crossing and merging of the cultural components I mentioned partially manifests itself only in the late Middle Ages, in the periods of political and cultural decline. However, in the second half of the 19th century, popular and urban folklore gradually merges into multicolored picture of emerging bourgeois culture. It was in the beginning of 20th century, artists working in the modernist tradition, poets and writers are showing great interest in national art and all Caucasian folk art. The beginning of the 20th century saw a creation of a new cultural context in which artistic community was born and identified itself under Tbilisian modernism. It gathered its inspiration from national art tradition and folklore. At the time, the young generation of artists touched upon new developments of European art, both in a modernist discourse. However, to maintain their own cultural identity, looked towards Mediterranean, Indo-European, and Caucasian roots. Now I want to show two artists from this period who are David Kakabadze and Vladimir Biashvili. So very shortly, David Kakabadze was a Georgian avant-garde painter, graphic artist, theater designer, art scholar, and innovator in the field of cinematography, as well as amateur photographer. During 1919 and 1927, he lived and worked in Paris. Upon his arrival to Georgia, Kakabadze became professor of Tbilisi State Academy of Arts in 1928. But soon came under pressure from Soviet authorities for failure to abandon formalism and adapt to the dogmas of social realism. Eventually, he was dismissed from the academy. It was in 1948, and in 1952 he died. I think it's important to mention that in 1923, while he lived in Paris, he constructed a film camera producing the illusion of relief. So he was one of the pioneers of three-dimensional cinema. In his artwork, he combined innovative interpretation of European leftist art with Georgian national tradition, and now we will see the works where this tradition, this combination is more obvious. First, I want to show his counter-reliefs. As you know, this term was used to describe artistic experiment in Cubism, and then it appeared in Russian constructivism in the artwork of very famous Russian artist Vladimir Tatlin. So this is three-dimensional work that are not depicting anything and slightly attached to the picture surface, and in the combination of contrasting forms and materials in Kakabadze's counter-reliefs, the shapes are based on Georgian ornament, in which he was an expert, and because he wrote a book under the title The Genesis of Georgian Ornament and Its Time. So now we will see these counter-reliefs. These are the works that I talked about. So. So the second group of works I want to show is his abstract works, where he uses this multicolored approach and festivity mode that can be found in national costumes and folk rituals in Caucasus. Now we will see those. So who just joined us, we talk about Georgian artist who belongs to the modernist tradition, and this is his works for the first part of the 20th century. second artist I want to show, this is Magda, who also belongs to the first wave of Tbilisi modernism. And he also lived and worked in Paris in 1919-1926, and he was searching for manifestation of national character in painting. So his artwork was influenced by Georgian traditional mural and fresco and also Georgian and Persian miniature. For the inspiration, he looked towards the Tbilisi and Bohemian life, poetic mysteries, as well as ancient legends and mythology, folk tradition, and the archetypes from the Caucasian history. So here mixed graphics and painting. So in 1990s, as you all know, Georgia, Azerbaijan and Armenia became independent states. So today, this relation among them are a little bit tense because of political situation between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So cultural exchange between them is really not really active. And in this matter, Tbilisi still maintains the position of a center in the cultural center in the South Caucasus, where Armenian and Azerbaijani artists, they take part in the same exhibitions, international exhibitions side by side. So this is really very important cultural space in Tbilisi, where these people can meet and exchange and be in the same projects and exhibitions. So the still national folklore, along with linguistic and narrative traditions, often manifesting the works of contemporary artists, as they found Caucasian cultural phenomena as a unique, creative and inspirational experience. However, this experience is not always direct. It can be seen in material use or some framework or decorative or symbolic accent. Of course, I want to say very shortly about dynamics, artistic dynamics in the South Caucasus. So the employment of the folk art tradition is not only one criteria with which we can describe the artistic dynamics in the South Caucasus. The end of cultural isolation of the region and rejection of the forced mode of art practice such as social realism made possible more openness, more involvement and more visibility for Caucasian artists on the world's contemporary art scene. However, the years of isolation, different ideologized approach to the education, as well as no participation in the Western art dynamic during most of the 20th century somehow defined the nature and ways of development in the South Caucasus, while the Western art developed to this current stage in the mode of conflict with capitalism and bourgeois attitudes, as well as on the background of 20th century philosophy. There was no such dialectical or philosophical backdrop in the Soviet Union. Of course, we can talk about counterculture, which was oriented towards the Western art movement and which emerged in the South Caucasus from the end of the 50s, but it's really different subject and we're going to talk about this now. So what I want to say now, it is that very interesting phenomenon which takes place now in the post-Soviet space and also in the South Caucasus. It is already defined profiles inside which the Western art professionals coming to South Caucasus are always looking for the kind of art they expect to find in such a geography with the 20 years isolation. Be it an angry art or art oriented toward the past socio-political problematic or art with national feature. Of course, it is a favorable situation for us because we want to find our place today on the world's contemporary art map and national feature to work with the national motives can be very good very good position to maintain this national identity and to be special and different. Actually, in any kind of work created anywhere, cultural background is always shown, if not national characteristic. On the other hand, the artists living and working in the South Caucasus strive to be equal members of the world's art society, be it expression-wise, language-wise, subject-wise, material-wise, or program-wise. In other words, they want to work, the work they created, they want to be assessed not only through national, historical, or geopolitical prism. Now I want to talk about the contemporary art which I want to show here, and first is Eteri Chkadua, who is here, and she will talk more about her artwork. I want to say that she works between Georgia and the United States, and also Kingston, Jamaica, and she immigrated in 1992, right? 88, so okay, 88 or 92? On the side it was not. Okay, so in her work, this I hope you saw her work exhibited here. So all this resemblance to the main figure to the artist has sends me always to the idea of an author, the person who gives existence to anything. Also, it sends me to the 1967 essay, The Death of the Author, by the French literary critic and theorist Roland Barthes, who argues against traditional criticism practice of incorporating the intentions and biographical context of an author in the interpretation of his or her work. And he argues the creation and creator are unrelated. So in this matter, Eteri's works are very interesting and very fruitful soil to talk about philosophically and theoretically, to talk about artist and the author and the creation. So for me, in her work, this resemblance to herself, she, by this Eteri tries to stress the importance of recollection of ourselves in today's very defragmented mode of self-perception. It is kind of act to find ourselves in a world of huge amount of artistic, static and moving images around us. So the artist tries to perceive herself in an insecure world. Of course, we can talk about feminist essence of her presence in all her works, as well as multicultural and multifaceted visual elements, which starting from dresses, accessories, objects, people, animals, situations, and also her life is always in motion and between various cultural geography. However, I don't want to narrow her artwork to only a woman's presence and feministic idea of a woman's body as an object, because in case of men employing the same gesture, critical approach is always more specific and stays within the discourse of philosophy of art and the existential problems of mankind. So Eteri will show her work herself and she will talk about this. So second artist I want to show from Georgia is Magda, and his video Windmill, and in his video he uses windmill setting like windmill stone and vinyl musical disc. So this video was created for radio program of Georgian Green Radio with, this was a joint project with, I don't remember, Italian or Spanish radio program, but this work is very interesting because we can detect this influence of some Georgian rural tradition. So the thing is that vinyl stone and vinyl musical disc, they look alike, but it's not only retinal level, it is also, they operate the same, they make sounds. In windmill stones case, sound is really not predictable, unpredictable, and this is, and the windmill stone case, it is really natural. So he puts together these two objects because in Georgian rural tradition and also in Caucasian rural tradition, windmill was very social place. People meet together, they exchange rumors, they exchange news, so they had good good time because before they were waiting their floor to be done, they got drunk and they danced, and this was really interesting to the space. So in this way, he really uses well this parallel between windmill and maybe some club or some setting for music. She studied art in France and now she lives in Georgia, and she produced this work at the border with South Ossetia, where there was a workshop of Swiss and Georgian art students. So this is a very important place because there is a refugee camp, and actually the border we're talking about is a border line with Russian soldiers dislocated at the other side of the line. Volunteers moved this border line towards Georgia every day, almost every day. So in this video you will see a man dancing Georgian folk dance, and he is one of the refugees living in the camp. The video very much emphasizes the origin of Georgian national dance, which was developed with big influence of multi-ethnic Caucasian choreography. So, which among others originates from the preparatory rituals for the activities such as hunting and war. So in this way, it is very interesting how this man dances on his own land, trying to maintain the borders of his living space. It will be second different project program. This is actually a material for the video, but you will see what I show. So, let's do it. I think you get the idea of what it's all about. And now I will show very quickly the artists from Azerbaijan and Armenia. And I will start from Azerbaijan. This is Faik Ahmed and Rashan Babayev. This is Faik Ahmed work, which is the name is untitled. So in this work he works with the carpet. So as you know, carpet is a very important object and for Azerbaijani cultural identity, and this kind of accumulates cultural memory. So this work is based on the carpet as a starting, this is carpets, as a starting point for the installations, for the art development. The installation tries to research carpet through its components. So we see the components which make carpets, and also we see kind of this producing process, because you will see now what I mean. This is threads which comes out from the surface and are fixed to the completely other point. So they create angles, they create heights. So we see carpet through color, through ornament, and through this parallelly placed threads. And this is like when these threads are the same way when the carpet is producing. So it is the work is the construction of this producing process. So we see components, and also we see how how this carpet is made. Now I will show you another picture so you can have the idea of what I'm talking about. It is very beautiful in this space actually. Another work is Russian Babaev, and this is the Tree of Desire. So this almost everybody I think has this tradition to have Tree of Desire, and in this work he uses the real fig tree, and all these fabrics which are on the branches of this tree are very expensive silk, very expensive wool. So with his work he tries to stress the expensive taste of a modern consumerist and all possible dreams and desires behind it. So we also see all these individual hopes and desires, which is very important because in this way he uses this very ancient tree worship ritual and tries to talk about wide discussion about consumerism culture today. So these were artists from Azerbaijan. Now I want to show you the artists from Armenia. These are Azat Sarkisyan, and this is his. A photo documentation of a performance, and this is the performance took place on the cemetery. And the name of the performance is Welcome. So now this grave site and cemetery is a place where new folk traditions are born. But these folk traditions, of course, are very much connected to ancient ideas about body, about death. So it's kind of very funny. At the same time, it's like new tradition, but very much connected to the very archaic notions about death. So he takes pictures next to very kitschy grave sites, and he kind of welcomes the viewer because actually he helps the relatives of a dead person to draw attention to the grave. Actually, maybe this was also their intentions to get into this much trouble to decorate the grave. So this is his work. Welcome. This is especially interesting. Another artist is Harutun Zulumyan. He uses this folk game, which is now also people play in the urban space, leapfrog, and he wants to use folk games into showing these games which is led by politicians when they go up into the career ladder. So he has this very big collection of this kind of graffiti and photographs where he shows folk games, and he wants to show how it is connected to today's political games. And certain final artist what I want to show is Samuel Sagatelian. He lives in the United States and Armenia, and this is the work which he made in Karabakh city Shusha. So this is performance, and this is object, and this object is done by true performance, like during the performance. This is blanket which has the shape of Karabakh, and you will see from the photos what I mean when I'm talking about performance. So he was making this work together with women, and this was like rituals of making blanket. And this is the situation when one man can't do it. This is really collective work. So this is what I wanted to show this Armenian artist. And this is really very beautiful. I of course don't talk about our political background of all this, but I just wanted to show this only because he uses this national folk tradition of making carpets all together, people like together. But this is really very beautiful. So this is what I wanted to say. I was a little bit in a hurry because I want to leave time for Eteri too. So if you have any questions, I will answer. With great pleasure. Thank you.
Somebody start this slideshow now. Are there many artists in there at home or no? No artists? Then this one too. Yes.
Şey geçerek
Yes, slideshows. Next slideshow. I'm going to start showing my work on one of the oldest works, and then we'll get to the new ones. I hope you will have patience. Anyway, these are the paintings this is my diploma work at the end of the academic year. I made this painting. Before that I was painting like impressionist art painter. Mostly were portraits and very quickly painted. I would finish like in one day the painting, and from this time I started to make painting that lasted like 8 months. For example, I changed the technique. I used the technique of Renaissance. So these are the first things that I started to do when I moved to America. That was 88. I was 23 years old, and I was shocked to see how people had no idea where was Georgia, or the city that I was born, Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia. So in my painting, slow by slow, I was telling everybody about myths and traditions and legends that were connected to Georgia. Like I was so passionate about telling everybody where I was coming from. I very much adopted nomadic lifestyle, so that was my kind of travel of my paintings. They're like mindscapes from my impressions that I would get in different countries that I live. So unfortunately in this section of the paintings they're a little mixed up by date, but that was my first 10-15 years of living in New York and in Japan, in Jamaica, and as coming from other country, I was very much attracted to the people that were also from other countries, and in a way you will see there's always different ethnical group in the paintings. There's some kind of self-search also that you notice in the paintings. I wanted to always portray people of different ethnical groups and racial groups. This is one of the first paintings that I made when I entered to US. This is a painting from 1988, when there was still Soviet Empire. So anyway, now we go to another group of the paintings. How it goes. So these are the paintings that Magda was also describing. These are paintings from '96 that I started to use my image because whether I had some troubles emotionally with my boyfriends, whatever. So it kind of started to be very much, describing that condition. And then it turned into, I started to use this woman that's kind of similar to me as like my alter ego, would be like the best actress to portray other people, and it happened to just last for a few more years that I made these foreign paintings. This one is called Gossip, and it's about the woman that kills her kids because of her stressful life. This is called Alla Verde. It goes a little bit faster. If we can slow it down, then I can tell you. So anyway, good. And then stop now. And then I do. Just to make it slideshow, it can go slower than okay, then just start. So anyway, you can make the slideshow. Okay, when you see horns, for example, I have a couple times used the horns. In Georgia, men drink from horns. They make huge toasts. It's very traditional. So when you enter to the party late, they will give you the horn that is way larger because you have been late, for example, and you will have to drink all the toast that you missed. So sometimes in my paintings I have this lady drink from the horn in a way to the role changing. This is called Chase, this one. Called Gossip. Alla Verde, which is the toast maker can pass their toast to another person. They will be saying the same, they will be talking about the same toast, but it has to be told different ways. And toast can go all night. They can talk about toast from grandmother to the grandchild to the friendship to everything that possible. Called Life. This is called Prisoner. This is called The Sleeping Goddess. My paintings are very large, by the way. Some of them about 10 feet in length, and technically they're very well-finished paintings. I do use pretty much my own learned techniques. I really had a chance to study that in the academy. I did put the more mauve into the color, so it comes from all my living from tropical countries. I made it much more vibrant in colors, so it really gave a popcorn sense to it. It's called tourist. It's called predator. Traveler with X. This is called unfaithful wife. In all Georgian traditions, they would put the wife who apparently betrayed her husband backwards on the donkey and would walk her through the streets, and the villagers would throw the mud to her. This is not practiced anymore, of course, but I just wanted to. In my paintings, I'm very much talking about certain traditions that are very outdated, and Georgians are very holding on to the traditions. So I think I'm trying to challenge these traditions. I want to look at the old images, to pass them so we can create a civil society that we all want in Caucasus. We hardly in Georgia tolerate any discussion about sex or any. People are still very hard to convince that people can have their private lives and can have their sexual orientation. So up to now, we have to really, artists, I guess, we're still trying to talk about more. But in my paintings, you saw in other group of the paintings that is much more paintings of all kind of sexually referent personalities. Okay, I think we should get to the next one, yes. This is the Georgian costume that men wears and his bullets in his pockets. That's the detail of the other paintings I've noticed. This is called Sniper. So now from these paintings you will see more gun in my painting, and this is actually started 2007 when I somehow sensed that there would be some kind of conflict with our neighboring countries. And right after the war started with Russia, this person is, the diver is blowing the minstrel, the quote that Friends gave to Russia, design of it, right after the war. This is called breakfast. Lots of Georgian food. That's the thing that is here in the shop. If you are still interested, I have just another folder that I can show you what I did just before this. That's my academy years. It's totally different technically, so you'll be very surprised to find out that it was not even. So you can help me one more time. The first time. portraits of my friends and the summer that we spent together at the academy years.
May I have a simple question?
Yes.
So what created this shift or rupture from what you have been apparently taught in the academy and what is kind of influencing your earlier artistic practices and what you have been presenting us or what we've been exhibiting here? I mean, there is, as you call it, there is kind of surprisingly or shockingly difference between the two Eteri Chkadua.
Yes. You know, the generation of the teachers that we have in academy were not following the academy as like Russian academy or like our own ways of Colombia. That they wanted to be much more. They would teach us. They would tell us to be freehand. So as you see, this is how I painted while I was in academy. I would do like painting very quickly. I don't have, unfortunately, saved files, but I did some abstract paintings. Usually in academy, you learn painting and drawing very carefully. But here our teachers were very much encouraging us to have very freehand because that was this new generation of painters that were teaching were like really much more looking out the West House. Somehow we all in a school like were just painting very quickly and very using brush strokes. When I was finishing the school, is a joke, very much so. I made drawing. We were asked to do the diploma work and the what is it called, final work. And I sat down and I made a drawing, like very carefully. I put the portraits of teachers, of almost look like teachers' portraits from my day. So,
dear visitors, our museum closes in 15 minutes. Exits are on the upper floor. Thank you for visiting Istanbul. We hope to see you again.
So yes, and that was the thing, I totally didn't expect it out paint like this. So just as a joke, I wanted to make some kind of show to surprise my teachers. So I painted, if you remember, one of the main figure painting that was hunting, and everybody was really shocked to see that I painted painting like this right after these paintings. And then I came to US, and it was 88. Conceptual art was moving, the photography and video was just, really like the new start. And I don't know how it happened, I kind of like to be outsider. I didn't want it to really belong to the art world that was popular. I would just rent my apartment in artistic neighborhoods just for 3 months, but then I would go and live somewhere else. Somehow I didn't want it to really, I was very much interested. I was looking at anything else, but I just wanted to tell my stories the way I could at best, and I thought the later paintings that you saw, that I did in America, that very much became like something that I wanted to talk about my traditions, about Georgia's, the myths, and I connected that to kind of performance art in a way on the painting, and that was the way I could describe what I wanted to say, like a poet or a singer who would come up on the stage and talk from their own self. So this character that looks like me, basically, I don't think there's not like much of my life in there like other self-portrait makers, but just used as an actress that I thought would perform other people's troubles and have her say what I wanted to say. So it is strange. Usually, you start to be more academic in the painting and then go and mess up. But I did exactly the opposite, and I liked it to be that way. I found like so much more freedom in a way. Even in the US, you'll be surprised how people would be very conscious about. For example, when I started to make much more sexually charged paintings, and I used people of another race, dealers would be kind of very conscious not to show that work, and that was in New York. You wouldn't think of. So that was kind of, I think, my contribution. Feminism was much long time before I went there. Was already very much, deep there. I was saying nothing new about feminism. In Georgia, definitely, my work has that strong moment, but I guess the lady in my painting has this strong gaze, and that's how it's read as a bold, strong woman. But otherwise, I don't think I did much of feminism. But talking about using other racial groups, that was kind of pretty much interesting how it was perceived. People quickly would look at our side and not look at it, especially Rastafarians that are Jamaicans mostly. Even now in the US, people are considered them as people that they don't want to associate with. I would go and hang out with them, I would go listen to their music, and I found like most spiritual people, just like every other ethnical groups have. So that was my little, combination of all the people that I met and music that I experienced, and dubbed into this paintings and became like this. That's all.
Okay, one more question to both of you. What would you like to tell us about the two artworks that we are exhibiting here at Istanbul Modern, in black and Diver? Diver is dated 2008, but in black is a brand new work that's being for the first time exhibited here in Istanbul. What would you like to tell me about the floor first to Magda, and then you to kind of finish it up? How would you interpret the work as a curator? Actually, as much as I know, the second one in black somehow connected to Russian-Georgian war, right? That was the name. But as you know, that was some manifestation of the relation, but our relation never been good. So there was some war all the time. So we saw other works at Eteri when there is a machine gun on the table, right? Together with other foods and something which belongs to the table. For me, it's a changing of the role of the woman, in this society, because it's this machine gun or something that like things to defend yourself, your family, your country. It's not belongs only to a man. So it's Eteri combines it's with table, with something woman does in our culture. So I kind of like this thing. For me, it's not woman and man, it's human being in there. So another work, it's more kind of transparent, right? It's spying or something. Another work. So it is somehow also connected to this situation, being in constant war with your neighbor, and maybe it is also, if we go to a little different direction, maybe we all have some kind of voyeurist in ourselves, right? So maybe it's something like this, but it's official, it's not bad kind of, because you do something good, it's for everybody, helping something.
Okay, the one diver, I've been living in Jamaica. Therefore, the ocean has a little bit Caribbean color. Black Sea is much more darker, but what was going on, that painting is right after the war between Georgia and Russia. Interestingly, what happened that, as you remember, Sarkozy had very much, announced that, he could survive the Georgians. So, in a way, right after, very double standard happened that France saw design of minstrel, the bombarding ship to Russia. So that was my action. In my emotion and my beauty, I blew up the ship. The other one, in black, when I had a gun, actually, I'm not the man there. In one painting, which is a sniper, I kind of portrayed my friend who would sit and have a drink, and always I could sense he had a gun in his pocket because there was bad times in Georgia. Also, I wanted to show how Georgia's situation was like. There was still guns and people were still partying. There was food and there was guns somewhere all the time. And then when Russia-Georgia wars happened, more and more I put the gun at the table. And in one painting there's a kind of my grandmother's village where they come from is occupied right now by Russians. It's been 20 years. Georgians cannot go there. Some people who come from their village somehow they can, go there. And I tried once actually. I put up the dress like I was from the villager and I sneaked into the village. It was very sad stories. It's one of the most beautiful villages in West Georgia, and the houses were empty. There were kidnappings. So somehow I wanted to reincarnate my grandmother who came from the village, and she's wearing a dress and pocket guns. It's like totally doesn't look like her, but somehow I wanted to show the soul and the struggle of the people that still live in those areas and they cannot connect to the people that are, on this other side of the world. So, in Black is a little story. There's a ritual after 40th days when somebody dies. They put up a big party and invite guests and friends and relatives. After that, you must wear black clothes. Some people who are much more strict to traditions, they will wear for the whole year. So in a way, I'm describing this painting that, I wrote a little text how she looks in the wardrobe and she wants to put up a yellow dress with polka dots, but she realizes.
Dear visitors, our museum closes in 5 minutes. Exits are on the upper floor. Thank you for visiting Istanbul. We hope to see you again.
Yes. Yes. So it's not the same photograph. So anyway, you can see one more time if you want to go. So yes, and I wanted to describe that day when the woman has right to take off her black because it's her 40th day, and she's preparing for the dinner because in the evening there's this, it's called Ormasi, which is 40th, and while she's slowly cooking up the Georgian food, also I wanted to show some of the Georgian characters to menu. And in her eyes I wanted to put the regret and little tragedy that comes with it. So that was about the painting. I can't kind of Russian because I know we have no time, otherwise the whole text would be pretty interesting, but I'm not right now going to start. I don't know if I can. If it's going to be
anyone here,
please ask me questions because I want to be able to answer it much more to your interest.
Questions, comments, remarks, whatever you'd like to ask.
You mentioned about the soul searching during the 90s.
Yes.
Stuff. Can you tell us more about how is it going nowadays?
Yeah. Well, I was 22 years old. And everything opened up for me. I was in the free society. that I had to really catch up with. It's very easy at 23, although you're doing everything that you're not supposed to do, which you're told not to do. And I was pretty much free-spirited. Of course, I did everything that I'm not supposed to do. So meanwhile, these paintings were kind of getting out from me, and I was self-searching myself. And there's one painting that has many figures, and there's a legs of supposed to be Jesus Christ, or in a way I was never very religious, but suddenly I was facing. When you're in a new country, new world, first years, you are very much comparing everything to your past, what you were told, even something that you didn't believe then. Suddenly you are using this kind of supporting material because you have to deal with the new values, and everything is interesting, and some things that you were strictly told that you cannot really be part of it. And then you end up very much, reliving it. So that was it, just like everybody else, and at some point goes through certain self-searching. I think by now I searched already, and I very much, later it became very much describing other people in my late paintings. I would not say I'm still I think after these paintings I may actually paint other women. I was always interested, one individual can have one very extremely different two sides. Can be demon, and the next one can be like the sweetest, great, warmest person. So I think this is what I'm going to do. Try to, my next painting I'll have one character, one side of demon, and another one, which is the sweetheart. So we'll see what happens. I'm also now interested to make monumental installations. We'll see how it goes. And design, basically.
Well, okay. Well, thank you both. Thanks for coming.